Every Yu-Gi-Oh player has a deck that stands above the rest when it comes to their preference. Maybe it's the first deck they picked up or the one they won a big event with. For me, that deck is Swordsoul. Debuting in Burst of Destiny in 2021, Swordsoul instantly became one of the best decks in the format, but I personally didn't pick it up until August of 2022, and when I did, boy was I hooked. The deck has an answer for pretty much everything if you build it right, has a lot of flexibility for things like hand traps, and is incredibly consistent. When I first bought the deck, I one-tricked it for like 9 months before trying another deck. And while I haven't played it as much since then, every so often I pick it up and have some fun at locals and see if it's good in the format, and more often than not, I end up topping or outright winning locals with it. Basically, this video is an excuse for me to play my favorite deck. I'll be uploading a deck profile on Monday for my deck list that I use in this video, so make sure to subscribe. With that out of the way, let's get into my matches and see just how I did. Round 1, I'm up against Keenan on Tri-Brigade Fire King. This tournament, I guess a lot of people were just busy or didn't want to come to locals because we had a total of 4 players, so we decided to just do round robin, meaning that every player plays each other. I ended up winning the die roll and went first, and while I had full combo, I had to make the decision of whether to play into Nibiru or not. I'm not sure if he's main decking it, so I decided to say fuck it, we ball, and summon 5 times. Unfortunately, my opponent was also ballin' because he did in fact have Nibiru. I'm able to chain my Heavenly Dragon Circle to grab Taya for follow-up, but outside of that, all I can really do is pass and hope my hand traps are enough. Keenan starts off with Sanctuary, placing Island, and he uses Island's effect to add, but I chain Ash to negate it. He follows it up with a normal summon of Ponix, which adds Skyburn, and on res he uses it to destroy his Ponix and my Nibiru token. This triggers his Garunix in hand, but I feel like letting him destroy something from deck is a little too much, so I Valor it on summon. He then uses Tenyi to grab Fractal, and uses Fractal's effect to go send Kit. Kit sends Nerval, which adds Karis. Keenan sets a card and swings for 2700 with Garunix, and with nothing else he can do, he just passes to me. I start off with Emergence to add Longwan, and I had to make a choice. If that set card is Imperm and I normal summon Taya, I will outright lose the game. So instead of playing into that, I start with Longwan discarding Taya, guaranteeing me a token on the field. This allows me to use my Heavenly Dragon Circle engraved to add me a Tenyi, so I grab Ashina. On resolution, I use my Vishuddha engraved to get rid of his back row, which happens to be a copy of Circle that he chains, destroying his Garunix to summon back his Ponix, which adds him a copy of Island on a new chain. Now knowing what his 2 cards are in hand, I can safely do the rest of my combo and break his board with Boxia and Yazi. I'm able to end my turn on a board of Yugioh, Boxia, and Blackout, while also threatening lethal on my next turn. My 2 interruptions end up being enough, and I'm able to close out the game on my next turn. Game 2, Keenan has a good hand, but is pretty new to this variant, and really sequences his combo poorly despite having Kit and Island. So much so that all he ends on is Heat Leo and Imperm. My hand isn't that decent, and Imperm on my Moye really stopped my combo, but I was able to link summon SP Little Knight, and honestly without it I probably would have lost this game. This game was pretty simple from here. I just banished SP and any problem monster on his board, and he was not able to establish any kind of real board presence for the rest of the game, and I end up winning after a few turns. This game convinced me that SP is mandatory in this deck now, which isn't that surprising, but good god, the difference it made was staggering. Good games to Keenan. Round 2, we're up against Michael West, who is my personal bracket demon. Can we beat this handsome devil, or will I brick against him once more? Let's find out. He wins the die roll and goes first, and luckily for him, I open no hand traps, so he ends on a board of IP Masquerena, Crystal Wing, ABC Dragon Buster, and Therion King Regulus. A tough board to break for sure, but I'm positive I can still break it. At least, I was until he drolled and ashed me, as if his 4 interruption board wasn't enough. This made sure I couldn't end on much, so I just had to settle for partially breaking his board with Barone and passing. I knew for a fact that he could break my board on his next turn, but I didn't think he could swing for game until I saw his triple tactics talents hit the board, so we just went to game 2. Game 2 was incredibly grindy as both of us had just enough resources to keep playing, but eventually I was able to make a push for game. There was this incredibly funny part in the middle of it though. Summon the fucking... He's my boy now, buddy. Sticking in his mouth. He's the kid. That's all I got activated his effect. Game 3, Michael went first again and just made the same board he made in Game 1 with Fenrir in addition to it. It is also worth noting that he has Therion Discoliseum up, so I can't just swing over IP whenever I want because he could just protect it. So I'm stuck with trying to play through it in my main phase. I start with Imperm to negate his Therion, which resolves. I followed up with Ashuna special summoning itself from hand, and I link it off into Monk, using Ashuna's Graveyard effect to special out Vishuda from deck. On resolution, Michael activates ABC Dragon Buster to banish my Vishuda, but I have Heavenly Dragon Circle to dodge the banish. Now, this sets me up nicely to bounce a card of my choosing with Vishuda, but I make the poor decision of shotgunning enemy controller to try to force something out. Econ is a card that I'm trying out. I feel like it's good in this deck because I can kind of spam a lot of bodies, but this was a huge mistake on my part. The Econ target was Crystal Wing, but Michael ends up chaining IP, linking off everything but the ABC Dragon Buster to make Underworld Goddess. I'd still say this Econ had great value, but I think it could have been way better if I waited and took his IP. On resolution, Michael tags out for the 3 ABC pieces, and I use triple tactics to draw 2. Those 2 cards weren't especially good, but I did draw Blackout. Knowing I can't OTK him, I decided to just summon Longwan, spin back Goddess with Vishuda, and swing over an ABC piece before setting Blackout and passing. Michael starts off with Therion, and from here I know it's over. While he lets my Blackout resolve, he's still able to summon ABC Dragon Buster, and to make matters worse, he took my Changing with triple tactics and swung for game. Great games to Michael as always. Round 3, we're up against Mitchell on Runic Generator. I win the die roll and go first, setting up a board of Qixing Longwan, Yugioh, and 2 back row. Mitchell starts off his turn with Flashing Fire to destroy my Qixing Longwan, so I chain Longwan to banish Flashing Fire and burn Mitchell for 1200. In addition to this, I decided to chain Heavenly Dragon Circle here to get some additional value out of this situation by adding a copy of main deck Longwan to my hand. Mitchell follows it up with Runic Destruction, popping my Imperm and banishing 4 from the top of my deck, including Swordsoul Blackout, which summons a token to my side of the field since it was banished. Mitchell goes to main and uses Freezing Curses to summon Sleipnir, and then World Legacy and Monstrosities to summon Vala and Hela from deck. He uses Vala's effect, but I negate it with Yugioh, so his only real play is to overlay his 3 monsters for Leviathan, use Tip to add Freezing Curses, set 1, and pass. I go to the main phase and summon Taya, synchroing it off for Boxia to force out his Leviathan. He chains it, summoning out Jormungandr and attaching my Boxia, Yugioh, and Taya as material. On resolution, I use Tactics to take it, and use Jormungandr's effect to have both of us draw a card and attach a card from our hands as material to it. On resolution, I activate Longwan's effect in hand, and Mitchell just scoops. Game 2, Mitchell goes first and sets up a board of Fountain, Vala, and Lopter. I start off by using Vishuda to special summon itself, and then link it off for a copy of Monk. Mitchell chains Tip on summon to add Flashing Fire, which would be a great way to get rid of my only face-up non-effect monster, but unfortunately for him, Tip banishes 1 card from the top of my deck. That card being Swordsoul Blackout once again, summoning me a token. Incredibly unlucky for Mitchell, but at the end of the day, I am God's favorite synchro summoner. On resolution of this chain, I fire off a copy of Vessel to dump Shathana and add Adhara from deck. Mitchell uses Flashing Fire here to get rid of my token, and knowing that I'll probably bounce it, he triggers his Fountain to put back 2 cards to draw 2. On a new chain, I Vishuda the Fountain, and he chains Freezing Curses to summon Sleipnir. With the runic cards out of the way, I special summon Ecclesia and use her effect, and Mitchell chains Lopter to special out Har. Since I know Har will probably negate Moye if I use her effect, I decide to summon out Taya instead. This wouldn't make that much of a difference if I didn't have triple tactics, which forces out the Har negate. With all of Mitchell's known interruptions out of the way, I'm able to go full combo and OTK him. Good games to Mitchell. Now, since the format was round robin, there ended up only being 3 rounds, and I ended up getting first place. I pulled a Dispater for my prize packs, but since I only had 3 prize packs, I didn't think I was going to pull anything, so I didn't record it. LMAO. My overall conclusion for this locals is that no matter what format, Swordsoul continues to surprise me with how resilient it is. I'll probably play a bit more of it before going back to Chimera, and I'd be surprised if I didn't make another video this year about Swordsoul. I'll have a deck profile out this upcoming Monday for the list I used in this video, so if you'd like to see that, make sure to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs this year, so your support would mean the world to me. And join the Discord. I send out a notification there whenever I go live or upload a video. With that, my name is Gokuzemi, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!